In life, we encounter people every day, all of whom have stories to share. We rarely take the time to ask people their personal stories, many of which will touch, move, and inspire us in some way. Matt has a passion for making authentic connections and learning about people from all walks of life. He has lived a life of giving back to the community and making a difference in people's lives. Are you ready to meet fascinating people and hear some inspiring stories? The Matt Hilton Show will introduce you to a world of possibilities you never knew existed. Sit back, be present, and enjoy. Here's your host, Matt Hilton.
Hey everyone, Matt Hilton here, and you're watching The Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is a great friend of mine. She grew up on a turkey farm. She has a passion for empowering women, and she's the president of our board of directors at Houdino. You don't want to miss this episode. Stay tuned for a word from our sponsor.
Inspired, experienced, customer-focused. Find a mortgage that fits your needs with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage, specializing in construction and closing all types of loans, including jumbo, portfolio, conventional, FHA, and VA. A tenured team, outstanding service, competitive programs. Finance your dreams with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage. mleach.firstunitedteam.com, 214-316-7915. mleach at firstunitedbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is a friend of mine. If you've been watching these, you know that I've had a lot of my friends on the show. And she is a wonderful friend. She's someone that I've met several years ago. And she currently serves as the president of the board of directors for our nonprofit, Who Do You Know? And most of you have heard me ask our guests at the end of the show, like, what is your favorite place, or what is a place you want to go to, what experience you want to have, and what person do you want to meet? And so you're going to meet one of the people behind the scenes. So Lyndsey Monahan.
Hello.
Welcome.
It's nice to meet
Thank you for being here. So we'll talk about Who Do You Know here in just a minute, but I want to know a little bit about you. So if you could give us a little synopsis of who Lyndsey is and where you grew up and all that, like, who is Lyndsey?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm a weird person. Okay, so I would describe myself as a small town girl. So I was born and raised in Central Illinois on a turkey farm of all places.
A turkey farm.
Yes,
Okay.
town of 150 people. And I knew pretty early on that the opportunities that small town had to offer were not going to be big enough for me, and that wasn't going to be the place that I landed permanently. So went to school, Illinois State University, go Redbirds.
Mm-hmm.
Got my accounting and computer science degree. Went to work for a big insurance company based in Central Illinois and worked there for about 15 years. And then decided I was tired of working for the man, and it was time for me to do my own thing. And so I became an insurance agent, property and casualty insurance agent. Did that for a few years. And then I had life happen, like that wonderful thing called life.
Yeah.
And because of a series of events there, needing to start over and kind of hit the reset button, made some changes and became a financial advisor. And I've been doing that ever since. So That's a little bit about me professionally. Personally, married, have 2 kids, a 15-year-old bonus son, Caleb, love him. And then my daughter Stella is 16 months old.
Okay. So new mama.
Yes.
Yeah. How is that?
Love it. Best job in the world.
Right. You're supposed to say that, but yes,
Yes, it is.
No, you're right. You're right. Totally. So you said something in your introduction I want to go back to and dive a little deeper. You said that you had this feeling that there was more to offer than what the small town of 150 people could offer you.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So where did that come from? If you had to look back when you first realized that, did that come from your parents? Did it come from just an inner feeling that you had? Share with us.
Great question. So I think that came from my mom and her sister, my aunt, Cheryl. So shout out to both of them on here, I guess. But I knew from the very beginning that I was not meant to stay there. I was meant for bigger, I don't know, that sounds so bad to say, but bigger and better things, like more than just what was there in that small town. My mom actually ran that turkey farm that I grew up on. And I just remember some of the scenes, if you will, from that period of time in my life when my mom would say to me, I don't care what you do in life, but you're going to get a college degree and you're going to go somewhere and you're going to get out of here. And my aunt would say the same thing. And like, keep in mind, this isn't my aunt who her husband owns 6 or 7 banks in Central Illinois. Like, they own a bunch of real estate, and the response was always, you're going to go somewhere else. You're going to get your degree and go somewhere else. So I think those two strong women in my life kind of instilled that in me.
Yeah. Good stuff. So a turkey farm.
Yes.
You have a story to share about growing up on a turkey farm? I mean, it's not every day that I get to hear a story from somebody that grew up on a turkey farm.
Yeah.
In a town of 150 people. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So the town, if you want to look it up, is Strawn, Illinois, 150 people. Yeah, I grew up in a turkey farm. So my grandparents actually owned and operated a chicken hatchery when we were growing up. So my grandpa went to Ohio State University, poultry science degree. I know I'm sure they don't even offer that anymore, but they had a chicken hatchery. And when I was in my early teen, probably tween ages, they sold that operation out to a turkey operation. And then my mom started running the farm that I grew up on. And it wasn't a small operation, 27,000 birds.
Wow.
And that was my first job, was going in and walking through the barns, cleaning drinkers, putting feed out, picking up dead birds, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, grew up on a turkey farm.
Wow. Interesting stuff. It's amazing what we find out about our guest, right? So you are now a financial planner.
Yes,
And you recently really went out on your own, correct?
I did.
Yeah,
Yes,
so tell us
very
about
much
that.
So I've known for a couple of years now that I probably want to do my own thing. I had this hesitation, like, do I really want to do that? Is that something can I actually do that? And I hired a coach, a personal coach, or business mentor, if you will, and she really helped me kind of see why I needed to do this on my own. So the name of my company is called Women Inspire Wealth, and it is truly all about being the strong woman that my mom and my aunt were for me back then, but in a way that teaches women to empower themselves through personal finance. And so got that started. I'm still waiting on final approvals, but hope to launch here in the next 30 days. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That is exciting.
Yes.
That is taking entrepreneurship to the highest level,
It
right?
really is.
Yeah. So what is your vision for this company?
It really is to help as many women as possible. And I need to quantify that more because I'd like to be able to say there's a set number of women that I want to help. So I need to quantify that a little bit more. But truthfully, it's helping empower, inspire, just give women the feeling, help them feel motivated to do their own thing. Yeah. Because I think so many of us have aspirations of doing big things, but you're so afraid to do it on your own. And you don't have to be.
Where do you think that fear comes from?
I think that fear comes from just always feeling like you have somebody guiding you. Like for me, and we'll talk about this too, I'm sure, my father was not around for a lot of my childhood. And so I always had to look for a woman in my life or a man outside of my household to help me kind of boost my confidence and that type of stuff. And I just think always looking for someone to be there to help guide you kind of drives that into, especially women that grew up in a single parent household, right? Or somebody that didn't grow up with a fatherly figure or something like that. Like you're always looking to somebody else to kind of help guide you along the way. And taking that big step to say, I'm going to do this on my own, that's kind of planting your flag in a big way. And it's kind of risky.
Yeah, for sure. And risk versus reward, right? I mean, there's going to be a big reward, and it's not necessarily a financial one.
Right.
Although that may come from it, right?
Sure.
I think the reward that I'm hearing you talk about and you desiring is helping other people, helping women. Absolutely, right? It is. Yep. And empowering them and inspiring them and motivating, giving them the motivation. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And we met in a networking group.
We did.
Yeah. Several years ago, and have been in communication since then. Have been to a few gatherings here and there with other mutual friends that we have. Yep. And so as you connect with people, like that's something that I do. Like that's one reason I do this show, is to connect with people, hear their stories and things of that nature. What is it that you find important about connecting with other people?
I think it's exactly what you said, like making that personal connection with somebody and understanding their backstory a little bit more. Because now not only am I connected with you, but if I know a little bit of your backstory, now I have a reason to connect you with somebody else in my network. And I had a mentor a long time ago tell me that the power in business today is your ability to connect people, right? How do you connect the people and how do you connect the dots to make different industries come together, things like that. And so understanding people's backstory, that's really what it's all about. And so, I mean, I had to laugh when you said that because my whole thing is let's have coffee and connect.
Yeah.
Like
Coffee and connection.
coffee and connection.
Yeah, there we go. And so I wasn't planning on talking about this till the end, but we'll go ahead and talk about it because it's about making connections. So,
Absolutely.
and I'm referring to Houdino, the nonprofit that we are involved in. And I'm the Chief Happiness Officer of Houdino. And like I said in the introduction, Lyndsey is our current president of the board. And so tell us the vision of Houdino. Like, what does that entail?
Yep. So the vision for Houdino is really to inspire people and help them. I'm totally going to botch this. I'm so sorry, but it's really more about helping people get through or helping people feel like there's hope in the world. Really hope more than anything is
inspiring them to dream again. Right?
Yes, inspiring them to dream again. Yeah. Imagine. And I think so often we kind of get caught up in this grind of get up, get ready, go to work, come home, cook dinner, go to bed, do it all over again the next day, kind of the rat race thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you forget to dream. And so those questions that when you stop and ask people, well, where do you want to go? Like, what's your dream place to go? You'd be surprised at what comes out.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I feel like that is part of, it's interesting when I ask people those questions, Lyndsey, like they do light up. Mm-hmm. And some people though, they sit there and they really have to think about it. Like they've never been asked that question. They've never thought about that before. Right. And it's, to me as a dreamer, as a person who has vision, right. I sit there and I go, wow, how could you not have thought about these type of things before?
Mm-hmm. It's funny when you asked me to be on the board for Houdino, one of the things that I thought about from our conversation was, I grew up in Central Illinois. And so going to Wrigley Field was not a big deal to me. Like that was my home team baseball, right? Like we would go to Wrigley Field every summer, a couple times a summer type of thing. And when I came down here to Dallas, I met Cub fans everywhere. Like they're everywhere. And it's because they were broadcast nationwide. And so you find Cub fans everywhere. Well, I ran into someone, they said, it's my dream to go to Wrigley Field. I was like, your dream? Like, let's go. Let's go to Wrigley Field. And I did not get to go with that person, but I gave them a long list of places to go and things to do while they were in and around Wrigleyville, and they loved it. Yeah. So, yeah. There's real power in what we do.
There really is. There really is. And, with mental health being, there's a crisis.
There is.
Within the mental health aspect of life, right? I mean, I think everybody has some sort of trauma, that they have been through or something that they've experienced. And, part of what we do at Houdino is to give people some hope, as Lyndsey said, right? And be able to help them, even though it may be for a brief moment in time, to meet somebody, that they've always wanted to meet or to experience something or to go somewhere, right? And so our board is really focused on helping others and bringing hope and joy and love to people's lives. So
yes, those are way better words than what I used to describe it.
It's all good. It's all good. This has been something that has been, within me for over a decade, right? And just starting at this past December of 2021.
Yes.
Was something that I hadn't planned on doing, but it was something that came about due to a personal development and leadership program that I was involved in. So laid out the framework and called up some friends, put out the word about the organization and needing a board and volunteers and things of that nature. So if you're watching, we need other board members, right?
Do. Yes, we need other board
but we need people to volunteer their time too, right? And to help with different things, such as some fundraising events that we want to have, and some logistical type stuff, maybe some administerial type things, right? That happen. within the organization to make us run a little more smoothly, to get some processes and systems. So this is like I said, we just started 7 months ago.
Yes.
So this is brand new. There are a lot of things that we need to work on and improve upon and implement, right? Because we all have our daily jobs that we do in our lives that we live, right?
That's right.
And so anybody out there who can help with the nonprofit would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a laundry list of those things. So if you have the slightest bit of interest, please let Matt know and we'll get connected.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to you, is there a specific event in your life that that changed trajectory for you? Like for me, it was when I was at Baylor. I went to college, first one on either side of the family to go to a major university, and I was going to be a doctor, right? And 3.5 years into the pre-med program at Baylor, organic chemistry kicked my booty. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me, right? If this is what med school is about, is learning about carbon and how it's constructed and all, like, how am I going to use that as, being a pediatrician? So anyway, with all that being said, I was like, yeah, no. So I went to my counselor and said, hey, organic chemistry has changed my mind of what I want to do, and I need to do something else. So that was an event that changed a trajectory that I was on. So is there anything that happened in your life that changed your trajectory?
Yes. So I think it's really important to talk about those trajectory changes as seasons in our life. That's what we call them, as seasons in our life. So probably my first one was as a very young child when my parents got divorced. That's obviously a big deal for kids. And then the biggest one in my life was probably going to college, very similar to what you just said. I started off wanting to be a physical therapy major in college. And so I was pre-med all the way, private university. One semester in, chemistry kicked my butt. Chemistry kicked my butt. And I took a step back and said, well, there's two things that I really love and two things that I wanted to study. And that was computer science and pre-med stuff. And so I said, let me take a step back and take some more programming courses and kind of see how this goes. I'm pretty good at math and I love computer science. And so that's really what I did was I changed majors from physical therapy, changed schools, and went to Illinois State then. And that put me on a completely different trajectory in my life. And I'm so thankful for that because I needed it for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times, Lyndsey, things happen in our life that change that trajectory. Mm-hmm. And at the time, we think, oh, the world is ending, right? Yes. Or, oh, the sky is falling, or whatever you want to fill in the blank with, right? And so when you look back on those things, you understand as time passes or as you get wiser or older, whatever that may look like, right? And you look back and you're like, oh, I'm glad that happened, right? Now, it's not that way with everything, that changes trajectory in people's lives or different seasons in people's lives. But I know looking back, like, I'm really glad that happened. I'm glad that there are some other seasons of my life that happened too, right?
Absolutely.
But at the time you're thinking, why is this happening? What's going on? Or, what did I do, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times we place it on ourselves as something that we did, that we're being punished or something, right? And that's not it at all.
Right.
It's just what you called earlier of life.
It is.
Life just happens.
Life happens. And I know that I was guilty of, as a young one going out to college for the first time, I had this plan for my life and it wasn't going to change. that was going to be it. And that was really the first time where life hit me in a way that was soft enough that I could react to it and not be devastated by it, but at the same time take control and say, no, I'm going to own this. I really want to go down this path instead. And I'm so thankful for that. So
yeah. And there are other things that happen that are outside of our control, right? I mean, you mentioned your parents divorced, right?
Yes.
And when you were young, and that is something that is outside of what Lyndsey could control. A lot of things in life are outside of our control. We think we can control everything, but when it gets down to it, there's not a lot we do control, right? So when things happen that are outside of our control, like, what have you found that has helped you get through those things? Or what advice would you give to our viewers?
That's really good. So for me, I've always been into athletics or just working out and things like that. So I would say I always have to check myself first and say, what are you doing to keep your mental health right? And for me, that's working out. And so it's getting back in the gym, or it's, getting back into running, that type of thing, because that kind of centers me. It gives me that place where I can go, it's just me and my thoughts to kind of figure things out. I'm very much an introvert, so this is somewhat uncomfortable, but not really, right? But I'm very much an introvert, and so I need that time to myself to kind of think through things. So that's the first thing that I do. Obviously, prayer and things like that go right along that same path, but making sure that I stay centered. And then I've always had somebody close to me that I view as a mentor. And that's a time in my life where I reach out to them and they can help me see that event in a little bit different light.
Yeah.
And that always helps.
Yeah, I think surrounding yourself with people that can help you through those things is really critical and important.
Absolutely,
right?
It is.
To help you get through it, to see a different aspect, and a different way of looking at things, maybe thinking about things. There's a question I want to ask you as far as your passion.
Yeah.
Right. So, my pastor has spoken about this several times, and it's something that is in your gut that drives you to do something. Like it's a deep passion. It's and it propels you, right? It causes you to take action, right? So what is within Lyndsey that drives you, that is that passion? What are you driven towards in life?
So for me, it is very much empowering women. And that's something that, like I talked about before, it comes from being around strong, independent women in my past. And I know that. And for me, it's always been about personal finance, because as a young child, my sister and I were constantly told no because we can't afford it. Not because she didn't want us to have it, but no because we can't afford it. And so that really has kind of been the center throughout my life, is that every time I'm in a situation where I'm going to college, I'm changing majors, I want to look at personal finance still, because I want to make sure that my money's right, because I know if my money's right, and it gives me the ability to do other things. And so that's always kind of been a center point for me. Even as a working IT professional, I was taking personal finance courses while I was a programmer because I wanted to know more. I would talk about it with my colleagues at work, and they would teach me things about, how much to put in my 401k or things like that.
Right.
And that's just always been my outlet for empowering women. I think more so than that too is sharing your story with people. And that didn't come about until much later in life, after a few seasons of change,
Right.
and feeling comfortable and confident enough in my own skin to say, if you share your story with somebody that's struggling through something right now, it will help them dramatically. And that feedback is probably the best feedback that I've ever received. And I love to hear it when just sharing my story with somebody helps them through what they're working through right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one reason I do this show, is to hear people's stories, right? And maybe something that you say will help somebody else or inspire them to do something, or, to get into action to make something happen. And I think something that, from the question I just asked you, like, it's awesome that you're now working within your passion.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of people, I feel like they work just to pay the bills or just to live, right? They work to live instead of living to work.
Absolutely. So I can say that I was an IT professional for 14 and a half, almost 15 years. And I loved my job. I loved, more so than my job, I loved the people that I worked with and the energy and synergy that we created together. Loved that. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I was bound to that salary. I was bound to that job. And that was a point of friction for me. And so walking away from that, and I chose my outlet was insurance because I worked for an insurance company, right? Like, nobody actually wakes up and ever says, I want to be an insurance agent. But that's the company I worked with. And so it was an easy transition to entrepreneurism for me. But getting into that chair taught me so much about people and life and how to connect with people, that I'm so thankful for that opportunity.
Yeah.
But that's really what got me into this passion, is being able to see that, oh my gosh, like, even helping somebody understand how to budget can be life-changing for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just in case you caught what I said a while ago, I said it the wrong way. We need to be living to, working to live,
Working to live, yes.
not living to work.
Yes, working to live.
I almost said it wrong again. But yeah, so yeah, we shouldn't be in the grind and just every day,
Right.
just living our life just to work, right? I mean, there's so much more to life and what you can do for others when you love what you do, and it's full of that passion that you have within you. That makes it even that much more incredible,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So is there anything that you would maybe tell your younger self if you had to think through, the past few years that you've, been an adult, and what would you go back and tell your 16-year-old self today as a lesson learned?
A lesson learned. I would go back and I would tell that girl that the hardships in life are actually going to make you. Like all the things that come your way that you think are the hardest things you've ever been through, those are going to make you. And so embrace them and take notes, because you will use all of that information again to help yourself and to help other people.
Powerful. Wow. Good stuff. What's your greatest fear?
Heights.
Heights. Okay. So you would not go with a previous guest who said they wanted to go skydiving?
Absolutely not.
You
That's
would
not
not
my,
do that.
no.
That's not on
My
your
husband would say
list
we
of
don't
things.
plummet.
We don't
We
plummet.
do not plummet, no. Heights
Okay.
I am more scared of heights now than I ever have been. Like as a child, I don't think I would have been, but I think it was a trip to the Grand Canyon. Like I went to the Grand Canyon and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to stay 100 yards back from the cliff.
Wow. So have you been to New York?
I have not been to New York.
Okay. All right.
I know, that's so tragic.
No. And the reason I asked the question is because recently went on a trip to New York
Yes.
with my kids, and we went to the top of Rockefeller Center, and we went to the Edge Observatory, and we did all these things that were high. We went on a helicopter tour. We did all these things, right, that involved heights.
Yeah.
Would you do things like that, you think, or
I
not?
have been in a helicopter before.
Okay.
Yep. So did a helicopter ride in Vegas.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Mhm.
I've been up in Hancock Tower in Chicago.
Okay.
Did the glass tilt thing. I did not go out on the ledge.
Okay.
That's not happening.
Right.
Not happening. I think it's okay if there's something that I know is solid underneath me. But yeah, the idea of plummeting,
Just free falling.
it's not a thing. It's definitely not my thing.
One of your outside of work,
Yes.
outside of what you've done here in creating this new company and empowering women, what is your proudest accomplishment?
Oh, this little girl.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
Yes,
That's awesome.
this
Yeah.
little girl.
Okay, so what about your little girl? What about the experience of becoming a mother? I mean, did you enjoy the pregnancy part? What part of being a mom has just really
Been it.
been it? Yeah.
So pregnancy was a breeze for me. Like, I think I had a little bit of morning sickness, but I'm not sure I was eating enough calories the first, couple months or couple weeks, I should say. It was a very short period of time. But outside of that, pregnancy was a breeze. Labor and delivery, not so much. I ended up having an emergency C-section, so that's for the birds. But motherhood has been awesome. My favorite part of it is seeing this little person that you created, right? And seeing the parts and pieces that she picks from him and the parts and pieces that she picks from me and how it all gels together. Like, I don't know where this girl got all this sass from, but
Oh, I have no clue.
no clue. But no, it's been nothing but joy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where do I wish that she would get up at 3:30 in the morning? Heck no. But it's also a joy too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, being the father of 3 girls, I
Yes,
get
you
it.
get
My
that.
firstborn was a girl, or is a girl. Yeah. So, so just love them, want to protect them, and just, make sure that nothing hurts them, right?
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
that is my greatest fear. I've done a board breaking exercise in the past, and you write on there, what are your greatest fears?
Oh yes.
And then you break through the board, and break through your fears. And that was one of the top ones was something happening to my children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could rewind and redo that question, I would probably say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I wasn't saying that. So you
No, but that's a real thing. I don't think I understood that until I became a parent either. Like understanding what it means to be a parent and be in total protection mode all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
where is the balance then between being protective but not being overly protective, or a helicopter parent, or whatever you want to call it? Like, what is that for you? What does that look like?
So for us, like we made the decision pretty early on that we knew that she was not going to be, like I wasn't going to be a stay-at-home mom. I applaud anybody that can do that. That's not my thing. But we knew that she was going to have to be in a preschool, and not have to be. We wanted her to be, because we wanted her to be exposed to other people, other kids, and have experiences outside of what she was getting all the time with us. And so that's kind of that balance that we created. So she's a COVID baby too. Right. And so there was all this fear of, well, do you expose her by putting her into a daycare or a Montessori environment, or do you keep her at home and keep her safe? And with us, it was just, we wanted her to have those outside of the home experiences away from mom and dad. So it wasn't traumatic when she did have to go and spend time away from us. Right. So it's actually made it easier for us that way.
Yeah. Fantastic. So how did you and your husband meet?
Great question. Byron and I went through an agency training program together. And so we met for the first time in 2014. He was married. I was actually getting married to somebody else at the time. Like, we were just friends. I laugh and joke and tell people that I knew that I was going to be friends with him because there was like 5 people in his family that ran agencies. I was like, so if something happens in mine that I don't know the answer to, I can call him. And so we just stayed close. Like, I'm close. I don't even want to say close. Like, it was more like, hey, I know you.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And then fast forward a couple years into agency, I was going through a divorce, and some friends from that same agency training group kind of reconnected us and said, hey, you might want to talk to him. He's going through some stuff too. And so we just got reconnected that way. And I actually stood him up 6 times. I don't know if you've heard me say that before, but he kept asking me out, and I was like, I don't want to ruin this friendship that we have. Like, it's totally platonic. I don't want to change that or anything. Right. And then literally he's just so persistent that I was like, okay, fine, let's go. Let's go have a drink somewhere. And we haven't looked back since.
Yeah. That's fantastic. No, I haven't heard about you standing him up 6 times.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So is there one thing that you have, that you've done in life that if you had to do it again, you wouldn't do it again?
That I wouldn't do it again. I have to think about that. Yeah. It's funny. That's a really good question, because I think there's some things that I've done in the past that I'm not sure, at the time, I'm not sure I would have done, but I'm so glad they happened to me looking back.
Yeah.
So I had a big fear of leaving my corporate job to become an entrepreneur. Huge fear of it. It probably took me 2 or 3 years to make that decision. And when I finally made it, I was just like, okay, here we go. I felt like I was free falling, right? Mm-hmm. But that was the best thing I've ever done. Best thing I've ever done. If there's anything that I would regret doing, I tell this to people too all the time. When I was a little kid, I put some burrs in this little girl's hair. Oh, no. And I totally wish I wouldn't have done that. But I don't know. There's not many things that I can say I wish I wouldn't have done, because most of the time, those things that I'm not sure about or wasn't sure about in life ended up working out in a really positive way.
Yeah.
That was totally unexpected.
And most of the time they do.
Yeah.
Right. We don't see it at the moment, but they happen.
Right.
And yeah. So I'm going to ask you, Lyndsey, as we wrap up our time together today, the 3 questions that we ask people at Houdino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who is a person you would like to meet?
Totally not ready for that question. So Brene Brown is at the top of my list. She's an author and a professor at UT in Austin. I've seen her speak.
She lives in
before.
Houston, right? Or is from Houston?
I think she's from Houston. But yes, she's at the top of my list for sure.
Cool. What experience you want to have? I know you don't want to jump out of a plane.
I am not jumping out of an airplane. Not happening. I would like to stand underneath the waterfall. I don't care where.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not Niagara. I'm
No. I mean, I don't want to die.
Okay. And what's the other one? The place you want to go?
A place I want to go. Yeah. I would like to go to Australia. That's at the top of my list.
And what's important about Australia?
I'm fascinated by it. I don't know. I just think there's a whole lot in Australia that we don't have the opportunity to see here in the US, right? Like they have a whole different set of wildlife there, right? Things are backwards from what they are here, there, right? And then I definitely want to spend some time in Sydney.
Okay.
So those are, that's probably on my bucket list.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here today. It
Thank you
was
for having me.
an honor and a pleasure to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, my friend Lyndsey Monahan, I know that you have seen some, I hope you've been inspired because I have been just from talking with her today and her passion for empowering women and making a difference in people's lives. And I love having you on the board as our president and making a difference in others' lives through inspiring imagination and helping people dream again. So until next time, I hope you tune in next week because we will have another guest who is a fascinating person with an inspiring story. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
The Matt Hilton Show would like to thank our sponsors, Hilton Realty Advisors and Maria Leach with the First United Mortgage Group. The Matt Hilton Show would also like to thank our partners, the Who Do You Know organization. You can find out more at wdyk.org. If you'd like to contact Matt or know a fascinating person with an inspiring story that would make a great guest, reach out to the show at themattHiltonshow@gmail.com.